What's happening, guys? Supernova here, back with another video, and this is going to be kind of a follow-up to the last video I made about people complaining about Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, Naughty Dog's next game possibly being a 2027 release or even a PS6 launch game. And I want to talk briefly about that again, but also about things that I really deem to be major issues within the gaming industry that is really negatively affecting this wonderful medium and hobby that we all enjoy called gaming. Because there are several things all across the board that I just think are terrible for not only the industry, but for the development process. And as a result, negatively impacts the sales of games, which then goes on to inform the developers on changes they think they should make in order to course correct and mitigate the things within their game that they felt were the reasons for why they got low game sales, which only create new problems resulting in low game sales again, starting this whole vicious cycle of developers constantly trying to course correct from the last thing they did, not fully understanding why game sales were low to begin with. Now, the first reason I want to talk about, and probably the one that first comes to mind when you think about problems with modern game development, is the time it takes to develop games in the modern era. Game development cycles are just extremely long these days. Now, for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about because you're too young and you don't remember back in the golden era of gaming, games nowadays take roughly about 4 to 5 years to develop from start to finish, especially if it's a new project that they have to start completely from scratch. Sequels generally take less time because there's a lot of assets that can be reused in the second game. In a new game, everything needs to be created from scratch, so they tend to take a little bit longer. But still, on average, you're looking at 4 to 5 years. Well, let's look specifically at Naughty Dog for this example. Going back to the PS3 2 console generations ago, we start with Uncharted Drake's Fortune, the first Uncharted game, which released in November of 2007. And while the game didn't blow anyone's socks off, it didn't knock anyone out, it didn't get any type of Game of the Year nominations or anything like that, it was still very easy to see that there was something special within that game. I remember playing it and thinking, wow, this is the first game I've ever played that felt like I was playing a summer blockbuster film. So while still rough around the edges, it was clear that if they were able to just take that and hone it, that there was something amazing there. But still, for their first outing with that IP, it wasn't bad. And that was in November of 2007. Then you go 2 years later, not even 2 years, 1 year and 11 months later, in October of 2009, Naughty Dog drops Uncharted 2. And this is where shit changed for them forever. Because Uncharted 2 took all those rough edges from Uncharted 1 and it ironed those fuckers out. And they made not only a Game of the Year nominated game, but a Game of the Year winner. And to this day, I think one of the best games ever made, period. So they went from making something that was rough around the edges that had some potential to making a Game of the Year winner and what many people, not just me, believe is one of the best games ever fucking made. Then, 2 years later, again, they release Uncharted 3. And while I don't think Uncharted 3 was quite as good as Uncharted 2, it was still a fantastic game, and again, a Game of the Year nominated game. Didn't snag the win, but it still was nominated. Then you go 2 years later again, and Naughty Dog releases the next game that would forever change not only them, but the entire gaming industry. Because in June of 2013, Naughty Dog drops The Last of Us, a game that nobody can argue has sent shockwaves across the entire industry, changing how the industry works, changing how games are made, changing how mocap is approached. The Last of Us was a very special game, and like the games that came before it, was also nominated for Game of the Year and won Game of the Year that year. And many people will cite this as being the greatest game ever made. Of course, that's an opinion. It is not a fact. If you feel that it is a different game that's the greatest game ever made, or you feel that The Last of Us sucks balls, you're entirely entitled to that opinion. But I think it's pretty safe to say that if you were to ask most people, if not the greatest game ever made, most would say it is one of the greatest games ever made. And I don't think that it's a stretch to say that. So to recap, we go from Uncharted 1 to 2 years making a Game of the Year winner in Uncharted 2, to 2 years making a Game of the Year nominee in Uncharted 3, to 2 years later making another Game of the Year winner in The Last of Us. 2 years between each one of these games. That's a fucking cadence I can get down with, guys. A new game every 2 years, and not only that, a new genre-defying Game of the Year nominated and or winning game every 2 years? Yes, fucking please. But as we start to move into the next generations, the shit starts changing really fast, and that cadence drops heavily. Moving into the PlayStation 4, which is actually not too bad looking at the current generation that we're in, but looking at the PS4, 1 year after The Last of Us released, we got The Last of Us Remastered in July of 2014. And this is where it kind of starts going off the rails a little bit, because we just got The Last of Us a year ago. But hey, I can understand. New hardware. The Last of Us was a cultural phenomenon. It was like the most awarded game in history or some shit at that point. So it only makes sense that you remaster it to release with your new hardware. Cool, I can understand that. 1 year later, we get the Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection. A collection of PS3 games. And it's like, alright, I get it. New hardware still. You want people that didn't play it on PS3 to enjoy it on PS4. Cool. Okay. But it isn't until May of 2016 that we get our first proper new Naughty Dog game. 3 years after The Last of Us Part 3, Naughty Dog drops Uncharted 4. Again, masterpiece game. Game of the Year nominee. Did it win? No. In my opinion, it got fucking robbed because the Game of the Year went to fucking Overwatch. But it is what it is. All in all, Uncharted 4 was still an amazing game, and in my opinion, one of the greatest games ever made. Then, 1 year later, in August of 2017, Naughty Dog gives us Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. And while it was a smaller Uncharted experience, but it released a year later, it was only $40, and it was an amazing game. So hell yeah, we get a new Uncharted game a year after the last Uncharted game? Fuck yeah, I'm here for it. And while it may have not gotten nominated for Game of the Year, if you haven't played it, trust me, do not sleep on Uncharted Lost Legacy. But 3 years later, Naughty Dog would give us its next major release in June of 2020 with The Last of Us Part 2. And again, this was a Game of the Year nominated game, a Game of the Year winning game, and while I don't particularly like the narrative of The Last of Us Part 2, and for that reason don't really enjoy it as much as the first one, for me, it's still hard to argue with everything else. The gameplay in The Last of Us Part 2 is incredible. The animations are incredible. The enemy AI is incredible. There are whole compilations of just people killing enemies in The Last of Us, and it doesn't look like gameplay. It looks like you're watching scripted sequences because of how well Naughty Dog implemented an animation system in that game. So love it or hate it, The Last of Us Part 2 was still a Game of the Year nominated and winning game. So to recap the PS4 generation, it's like this. Remaster in 2014, Remaster Collection in 2015, Uncharted 4, a Game of the Year nominated game in 2016, Uncharted Lost Legacy, another new game in 2017, and The Last of Us Part 2, Game of the Year winner in 2020. Now, again, while not as good as the PS3 generation, because the PS3 generation had 4 brand new games, 2 of them Game of the Year winners, 3 of them Game of the Year nominees, all in all, the PS4 generation still wasn't too bad. We still got 3 brand new games, a remaster, and then a collection of 3 games. Now we move into the PS5 generation, and this is where shit gets stupid. And I mean stupid with a capital fucking S. Because 2 years after The Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog drops Uncharted: The Legacy of Thieves collection in January of 2022, which is essentially the Nathan Drake collection that they released on PS4, but with Uncharted 4 thrown in and then remastered for PS5. Okay, I get it. Again, new hardware, new capabilities. You want to make the games look better, so you give us this collection of PS4 and PS3 games in January 2022. Cool. It is what it is. Then, 8 months later, in September of 2022, Naughty Dog drops The Last of Us Part 1. And I know you're asking yourself, yo, Nova, didn't they release The Last of Us Part 1 on PS3? And I'd say, no, they released The Last of Us on PS3. You see, The Last of Us Part 1, yeah, okay, so look, it's the same fucking game. It's the same fucking game that released in 2013 that they remastered in 2014, except this time they remastered the remaster, or if you want to get technical, they remade it because they say that they rebuilt the entire game from the ground up. Was it unnecessary? Absolutely, positively unnecessary, but they wanted to bring The Last of Us Part 1 into a place where it had the same graphical fidelity as The Last of Us Part 2, so it is what it is. So in 2022, we get a collection of old games. Then later on that same year, we got a remake of a remaster. Yes, to even say it out loud sounds fucking retarded, but that's what they gave us, a remake of a remaster. Thanks, Naughty Dog. But then, in January of 2024, Naughty Dog would release its next game. I know you're asking with bated breath, Nova, was it a new game? Did Naughty Dog give us a new IP? Some new wonderful gaming experience? No. Naughty Dog gave us The Last of Us Part 2. And I know you're scratching your head saying, but Nova, didn't they already make The Last of Us Part 2? And I'll say, yes, they did. They released The Last of Us Part 2 in June of 2020. Then, in January of 2024, released a remaster for the PS5 of The Last of Us Part 2. Now, with the ability to run the game at 60 frames per second and what they claim were visual or graphical upgrades. Although, if you watch the side-by-side of the PS4 and PS5 version next to each other, they look fucking identical. Was The Last of Us Part 2, the PS5 remaster, necessary? Fuck no. They could have given us a patch for the game that gave PS5 owners the ability to run the game at 60 frames per second, but they decided to release the whole fucking game all over again. And I know you're asking, okay, Nova, but what's the next game that they released in PS5? I mean, the PS5 has been out for 5 years now. In 5 years on PS3, they gave us 4 new games. In 6 years on PS4, they gave us 3 new games. In 5 years, Nova, how many new games did we get? And the answer is an emphatic fucking 0. 0 new games in 5 years on the PS5. We got a collection of old games, a remake of a remaster, and then a remaster that should have been a fucking patch update. And now, word on the street, or the rumors, are saying that their next game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, won't even come out till 2027. 7 years after the release of the PS5, and could miss the PlayStation 5 altogether and be a PS6 release. Now, I don't think they'll ever release that game and have it solely be a PS6 game. I fully believe if it does release when the PS6 launches, it'll be a cross-generational game. But still, the point stands that we'll have gone 7 years before getting a new game on the PS5 from Naughty Dog. 7 fucking years. And while I understand that countless years must have been wasted on developing the game that would end up becoming the canceled Last of Us Factions multiplayer, still, I don't care how the games get made. I don't care what hardships they go through to make the games. I don't care how hard the gaming process is. I don't care how much money they spent to develop it. I don't care about any of that. I'm the consumer of their product, and all I care about is the product good? And I've now gone an entire console generation without them giving me a single new fucking product. And this isn't just Naughty Dog. This is lots of studios all over the industry releasing fewer and fewer games within console generations, going more to remasters and remakes than developing new IP. Not only that, the budgets for these games are increasing to insane amounts, and the length of time between releases is 4 to 5 years now. Before, these studios were banging out 4 games within a console generation, and the budgets weren't out of this fucking world. So, if the sales for one of the games was low, yeah, that sucks, but it's okay. They have 2 or 3 more games releasing in that generation to make up the slack. Now we have where they're going to release one game in a console generation where the budget is so massive that if that game does not perform, that studio is fucked. Fucked with a capital F. That's why we're seeing so many studios make risk-averse decisions when it comes to what games they're going to develop. Fuck a new IP, fuck a new game. Here's an IP that we know is beloved. Here's a character people love. Let's just make a new one of those. Let's make part 17 of that series, because that's the easy bet. We know that'll at least make some money versus taking the time, money, and effort to develop something new, which may be a complete flop because nobody knows what it is. On top of that, between the explosion of social media, mobile gaming, and all the free-to-play game offerings, there's just way more ways for people to spend their free time than buying this one game that was going to release this month, or this other game that was going to release that month. So many games are releasing so frequently that unless you are Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, nothing is a sure thing anymore. And while game developers and game directors may have a passion behind the projects they work on, the suits that are above them, the publishers, they don't give a fuck. All they want is spreadsheets and graphs where the little line with the arrow goes up, not down. That's all they care about. And because of that, we're seeing decisions made within the gaming space where they're made not from a place of passion, but from a place of, this is a safe bet. Because we're at a place where one bad game could mean the end of your company. The other major thing, and I do mean major thing, that is negatively impacting game development and this industry overall is politics. Holy shit, has politics ruined the gaming space. Everyone knows there are 2 topics that you don't talk about because they are so divisive and toxic, and that is religion and politics. And specifically politics in 2025, when the world and this country is as divided as it is, anything deemed political in nature is going to see immediate backlash and negative coverage. It just is what it is. We're at this point where we are so polarized that it doesn't matter what political position you're taking in a game. It is going to piss off one half of the entire country, who are then going to say, fuck you and fuck your game, we're not going to buy it. And here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. Video games are supposed to be escapism. Escapism from the real world. We deal with enough bullshit in real life that we don't need to be playing a video game and then have to look at real life shit. That's not why we play video games. That's not why we watch movies. This is supposed to be escapism. But unfortunately, especially in the case of Western game developers, They somehow feel it's less important to be a game developer of a good game and more important to be an activist to push ideology and agendas on the rest of us. And look, if you want to be an activist, cool. Go be an activist. I don't care what your cause is. I'm not going to hate on anyone that wants to be an activist. You want to be an activist for this thing? Do it. You want to be an activist for that thing? Do it. But if you want to be a game developer, develop a fucking video game. Work on making a fun video game that is accessible to the larger, broader audience. A game that will be accepted by the larger, broader audience that everyone will enjoy. Don't be an activist first and a game developer second, because what you end up doing is using your game as a vehicle to push your ideology and agendas on half of the people who don't agree with it, thus reducing your target audience in fucking half. And because they have certain ideologies and beliefs, they make decisions around game development that 1000% negatively impact the game. And for what reason? Like taking all the women in video games and making them less attractive, giving them manly faces, giving them butch dyke haircuts, not giving them makeup, reducing their cup size to a B cup, if that, giving them flat asses, making sure that every single inch of their skin is covered. Why? So that fat, ugly bitches won't get upset that they're fat, ugly bitches? Newsflash, whether the characters in the game are hot or not, those fat, ugly bitches are still gonna be fat, ugly bitches. We're gonna uglify all these women because it might piss off the fat, ugly bitches? Fuck them. Fuck those fat, ugly bitches. And listen, if you're a follower of mine and you're a fat, ugly bitch, sorry, I love you, thanks for subscribing, but fuck you. I don't care if looking at pretty women in video games offends you. Deal with it. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm a paraplegic. I'm not like, yo, I need all these characters to be in wheelchairs, otherwise I'm gonna get offended. If I did that, you'd be like, what? Shut the fuck up, Nova. I don't give a fuck you're in a wheelchair. We're gonna make all the characters in wheelchairs because you're in a wheelchair? Deal with it. That's my message to fat, ugly bitches. You don't like looking at attractive women in video games? Fucking deal with it. Or make your own fucking game. Make your own fucking game where the entire cast is fat, ugly bitches. And then tell me how many copies that fucking game sells. Please. And for anyone out there that wants to say, yo, Nova, they're not uglifying women. Really? Here's what Mary Jane Watson looked like in Spider-Man 1, and here's what she looked like in Spider-Man 2. I think we can all agree the character model from Spider-Man 2 shares more in common with Eric Stoltz in fucking Mask than it does with the character model in the first game. And for what reason? Tell me. And this idea that, well, we need to desexualize the women because they're basically spank bank material for young boys and we don't want women to be objectified. Really? Your biggest concern, really, is that you don't want some 15-year-old somewhere to jerk off to the character you created? Okay, but help me make sense of one thing, please. Because the same exact people, and I do mean the same exact people, that will say that objectifying women is wrong and they shouldn't be just sexual objects for dudes to want to stick their dick in, are the same ones that watch this and go, "Yas, queen, yas, queen. This is what female empowerment looks like. This is a strong woman right here." As millions of 15-year-olds reach for the fucking lotion and tissues watching this bullshit. Because I'm sorry, that right there is far more sexual and far more of an objectification of a woman than anything in these goddamn video games. But somehow, that's female empowerment. That's okay. Make it make sense. Then again, you have these same people and these same developers whose first and foremost concern is not making a great game. It is not developing great characters. It is not writing great narratives. No, no, no. Those things, back burner. Great game with great characters and a great narrative, back burner. You know what's really important? You know what we're really concerned with? Inclusivity and representation. These are the things that are important. And look, I'm not trying to say that inclusivity or representation are bad things. Far from it. If you have a cast of characters that's inclusive and represents lots of different groups, that's great. That's a good thing. But when it happens organically, right? There's all kinds of casts of characters that represent this group or that group or have inclusivity of this color or that race, but it's organic. The problem is, in today's era, these things don't feel organic. They feel incredibly forced. It feels like they're literally checking boxes when they make these games. It's, wait, the character was a straight white man? Can't do that. They need to be a woman, they need to be gay, and they need to be a person of color. And if that character is not those things, all of those things need to at least be in this game. We're going to start with not having a male protagonist. That's checkbox number one. Female protagonist, check. Gays and or lesbians in the game for no reason, and their being gay or lesbian has absolutely zero impact on the narrative overall. As a matter of fact, if they never mentioned that they were gay or lesbian, it would change the game in no way whatsoever. Check. People of color, doesn't matter if they were supposed to be in the game or not. It doesn't matter if they fit the historical setting that the game takes place in. What? The game takes place in 1600 England, but there were no Hispanics around? Nope, that doesn't matter. You see, we're making this game for modern audiences, and it needs to represent the modern world. So it doesn't matter that there were no Hispanics in England in 1600. It didn't matter that there were no people of African descent in England in 1600. We're going to make 30% of all the characters black and brown people because this game is made for modern audiences. Oh, check that box right there. This is a fucking problem. You need to make a great game first. If these other things happen organically, awesome. But we can tell we're not fucking stupid. We can look at a game and tell very easily that the decisions made were not organic at all. They were boxes checked for the sake of checking boxes that, had you not made those decisions, would have affected the game in no way at all. This happens all the time in video games in the modern era. It also happens in movie and TV. The greatest example of unnecessarily checking boxes for bullshit is the first season of The Last of Us on HBO. Now, anyone that played the Last of Us video game knows that the character Bill was gay. You realize that his partner in that game was a man. It wasn't thrown in your face. You weren't beat over the head with it. It was just you came to the understanding when you found his partner that his partner was a man and that Bill was gay. It was just a thing that happened. Some people blink and miss it, didn't even realize it. It was very, very subtle. But when they made The Last of Us show, they decided to dedicate an entire 1-hour episode to explain this arc of Bill meeting his partner and making an entire hour-long episode of dude-on-dude love-making, dude-on-dude gay sex, dude-on-dude gay bullshit, and bullshit that didn't even make sense. And if you're not understanding where I'm going with this, I'm going to explain right now. Because see, had you missed episode 3 of The Last of Us Season 1 and asked me, hey, I missed episode 3, what did I miss? What do I need to know so when I go into episode 4, I'm not missing any important information? You know what the answer is? And I shit you not, I'm not being hyperbolic, I'm not exaggerating. If you missed that entire hour-long gay fuckfest episode, the only important information that you would need going into episode 4 is that Joel and Ellie found a truck. I shit you not. That entire episode was pointless, meaningless, and had zero impact on the overall narrative. It was there just to have gay shit in the fucking show. And this happens all the time in video games that we play nowadays, where a person is gay or lesbian or trans or black or Hispanic or whatever it is. And when you look at the reason why, it literally has nothing to do with the story. If they remove that one fact, it changes the game 0%. It's literally there to check a box. And I know some of you are saying, yeah, but Nova, why are you getting so pissed off about checking boxes if it has zero effect or impact on the story? And yes, I agree. I probably shouldn't get annoyed by these things, but the thing that annoys me is the fact that I know it didn't happen organically. They went out of their way and made these decisions because they wanted to check some fucking boxes to please some people who probably weren't going to fucking buy the game anyway. And in doing so, have now pissed off half their possible customers and have lost millions and millions of dollars worth of sales. And I'm sorry, I have zero tolerance for dumb shit. And to me, that is dumb shit. You're going to put shit in the game that doesn't have any impact on the overall story, and you're going to lose half your possible sales. For what? For what fucking reason? And I know if you're watching this or listening to this, it sounds like I am railing a lot against people with left-leaning political ideologies. And up to this point, I'll agree with you. Yes, I am mostly bitching about people with left-leaning ideology. But they are not the only ones who are negatively impacting game development. Because people on the right equally negatively impact the gaming space. Because we are in a political landscape where everybody is so polarized, right? Like, we live in a world where whatever the fuck Trump says, the left immediately says, he must be lying, that's bullshit, he made it up because Trump said it. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the truth, it could be an exaggeration, it doesn't matter. Trump says it, the left says, bullshit. Trump says don't do this, the left immediately goes, oh, Trump said don't do it, in that case I'm gonna do it. Just like when Trump said, don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant because it may cause issues with your child. And then a bunch of pregnant leftists were like, Trump said don't take Tylenol while we're pregnant. In that case, I'm going to take a whole bottle of Tylenol. No, I'm not joking. This is what they did because they had a visceral reaction to what he said because of how polarized we are politically. Same shit happens in these fucking games. To now we're at a place where if a game comes out and it has a female protagonist, immediately, and I do mean fucking immediately, people with right-leaning ideologies go, woke shit, this is woke bullshit, bunch of girl power, pro-feminist bullshit, I'm not playing it, I'm not buying it. Excuse me? Now look, I'm not saying that if there's a female protagonist that it's not woke, that it's not feminist propaganda. All I'm saying is a female protagonist in and of itself is not evidence of the game being woke or feminist propaganda bullshit. It just means that there was a female protagonist. Look at Metroid. Metroid back on the fucking original Nintendo Entertainment System. Female protagonist. What about Lara Croft Tomb Raider? Female protagonist. If those games came out today, even though there's nothing woke about them, there's no feminist messaging or propaganda to be had in them, if let's say we travel to a multiverse where these games hadn't existed yet, they were coming out today, and nothing about them was different other than they had 2025 graphics, right? Like the first Tomb Raider launched today, same story, just 2025 graphics and 2025 gameplay. The second they saw the trailer, they'd say, female protagonist, woke bullshit, I'm not gonna buy it, I'm not gonna play it. What? The fuck is wrong with you? A great example of this is Ghost of Yotei, right? Ghost of Yotei comes out, and it's not a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. It doesn't have Jin Sakai. It's got a female protagonist. And what do people immediately say? Woke bullshit. She's a fucking lesbian. We already know she's a lesbian dyke. This is feminist propaganda bullshit. She's a girl boss. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not buying it. I'm not playing it. Meanwhile, if you play the game, literally none of that shit is true. It's not woke. She's not a lesbian. She's not a girl boss. There's no feminist bullshit in it. I made a whole song I uploaded to this channel, making fun of the people calling her a lesbian when she wasn't.
She's not a lesbian, she's just killing people. She's spilling blood, not swapping tongues, my dude. Stop turning trauma into porn for your sequel. She's avenging her fan while you're being rude. 6 dead men on her to-do list, but y'all still screaming she pussy, what is this? She's not a lesbian, she's just killing people. Let the woman murder in peace.
Even after the game released and it was known that she wasn't a lesbian, people all over social media were still saying, lesbian bullshit slop, not gonna play it. Or maybe the game has some woke elements in it, or things that could be deemed woke or political. Woke shit, I'm not gonna play it. Really? Like Spider-Man 2 is a great example. In Spider-Man 2, you have a whole level where you play as a fucking deaf girl cleaning up graffiti. Why? Who the fuck knows? It's stupid. It's in the game. When I did it, I rolled my fucking eyes. I was like, what the fuck is this? There's a whole side mission with Miles Morales where you have to help a fucking gay dude ask another fucking gay dude to the prom or some bullshit. Again, I did it. I rolled my eyes. I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with Spider-Man? If this wasn't in the game, it would have been the same exact game, except without this mission that's obviously going to upset some people. It's literally just here to check fucking boxes, but I rolled my eyes and I continued to play the game. And even though there are some other things in the game, like the sidelining of Peter and the making Mary Jane a badass, the overall game was like 30 plus hours. So I played like 30 minutes of content where I had to roll my eyes, and then the other 29 hours and 30 minutes, I was enjoying the combat and the exploration and the web swinging and the gliding around with my web wings. I hate woke shit. I get annoyed by woke shit. I get annoyed by seeing the fucking checkboxes I know are only in the game because they wanted to check boxes. But I wasn't going to let 30 minutes of eye-rolling content prevent me from enjoying the other 29 hours and 30 minutes of the fucking game. I can take the things I don't like and remove them from the overall experience. It happened, I rolled my eyes, let me move on to the rest of the fun shit. But to have this position where it's like, I don't give a shit if it's a 120-hour game. If there's 10 minutes of shit in it that I deem woke, I'm not gonna fucking play it. Really? Really? I mean, listen, if you want to do that, you do you, boo-boo. I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm just saying, me personally, I think that mentality is fucking retarded. You are literally missing out on some of the most fun gaming experiences out there because there's a little woke thing sprinkled in here or there. Newsflash, unfortunately, that is everything in 2025. Every fucking movie you watch, every fucking show you watch, every fucking game you play, every fucking book you read, there's some shit in there that's gonna be woke or some other shit. So if that's the case, don't read anything, don't watch anything, don't play anything. Go to work, come home, and stare at the fucking wall. Okay? And while I also understand this idea of, well, we don't like woke shit, so we're not going to give money to the people that make the woke shit. Again, I understand this sentiment of they don't seem to have the same values and beliefs I have, therefore I'm not going to give them my money. Again, if you want to do that, you do you, boo-boo. I just personally can't imagine living a way of life where I can't separate the small things I dislike from the larger overall thing that I do like, and basically denying myself the ability to enjoy something I know I'm going to like. because there are sprinkles of things in it I also know I will dislike. And again, I understand the sentiment when people tell me I understand their reason for it. Just me personally, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I refuse to deny myself experiences I know I'm going to enjoy because of some small bullshit here and there. Another great example is Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet. Now, in that small trailer we saw, the protagonist is, yes, a woman, and she happens to have a shaved head. With no other information whatsoever, no other context whatsoever. Instantly, people said, woke, slop, fucking lesbian girl boss game, I'm not gonna play it. It's like, dude, you don't know anything about the story. I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm just saying the fact that she's a woman and has her head shaved isn't evidence of it being a woke, girl boss, feminist propaganda piece of shit. Also, I think the gameplay in Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet is probably going to be fucking awesome. And if there is some shit like that in the game, I'm going to roll my eyes when it happens and still enjoy the game. But you got to see people, when I mentioned Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet in my last video, in the comments that are like, woke slop, I don't give a fuck about that game. Neil Cuckman, because that's the nickname for Neil Druckmann, Neil Cuckman can go fuck himself, I refuse to play that game. Or even people saying, oh, The Last of Us Part 2 was propaganda for the whole Israel-Palestine conflict. This game's just going to be political propaganda. I refuse to play it. Meanwhile, I looked at The Last of Us Part 2, and I'm sorry, if you play The Last of Us Part 2 and the first thing you think of is, you know, this seems a lot like the Israel-Palestine conflict, there's fucking something wrong with you. And meanwhile, someone had told me that Neil Druckmann said on the record somewhere that the Israel-Palestine conflict was kind of like an inspiration for the story of the game. I don't know if that's true or not, but even if it is, even if the Israel-Palestine conflict was the inspiration for the narrative of The Last of Us Part 2, it doesn't mean it is Israeli propaganda. It doesn't. Especially when you look at that story and nobody is the good guy. Nobody is the bad guy. The whole point of The Last of Us Part 2 was violence begets violence and the vicious cycle that happens with it. It didn't say this side good, that side bad. You saw Abby do something terrible to where to this day, people are like, fuck that game. Abby killed Joel. Abby can go fuck herself. But the game didn't make Abby the bad guy. The game made Abby someone who did something bad because of something bad that happened to her. It didn't make Ellie the good guy. It made Ellie someone who went to go do something bad because of something bad that happened to her. It didn't say this good guy, this bad guy. So explain to me how you look at The Last of Us Part 2 and say, oh, this is Israeli propaganda. But again, this is the dumb shit that I see people say. And because of that, they're like, I'm not going to play Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet. It's going to be more Israeli pro-Zionist propaganda with woke lesbian feminist bullshit. Really? What in the trailer of that game indicates that any of that shit is true? But again, in this polarized political setting, we have developers far too concerned with activism, inclusivity, and representation to what I believe is the detriment of the overall product that they're making, to the point where even the mere appearance of possible wokeism, girl boss, box checking bullshit has caused people on the other side to say, fuck that, it's woke, I ain't playing it, I'm not buying it, thus causing the game to lose millions and millions of possible customers and tens of millions of dollars. And this is mostly a Western developer problem, because you look at these games coming out of China or games coming out of Japan where they don't give a shit about activism. They're not pushing any ideological beliefs or agendas. They're just making fun games with great gameplay and attractive female characters. And what do we see happens? People buy their games. Because you know what? If a game doesn't push any agendas or check any boxes, you know who pisses off? Nobody. Nobody gets pissed off by that. You're not pushing away gamers. And if the characters are attractive, you know who you're pissing off? Fat, ugly bitches who weren't gonna fucking play the game anyway. Because hate to break it to you people, men like to look at attractive women. And fact, female gamers like to play as attractive women. So now we have all these games coming from these Eastern developers, Japan and China, that are just fucking cleaning house because they're not pissing anybody off and no one's annoyed by the character models. Look at the fucking character models in Concord. Look at this shit. Who wants to play as any of these fucking characters? The only cool looking character is the black dude. That dude looks cool. Everybody else looks ugly, fat, or gay. Nobody likes these characters. And the sad thing is, Concord had solid gameplay. The gameplay of Concord wasn't bad, but those character models are ugly as fuck. And you can tell when they designed those characters, boxes were checked. I've literally seen videos on YouTube of a guy who isn't even a digital artist. He's just a guy with some basic Photoshop knowledge who took basically the design prompts of what the character is explained to be and what their overall outfit and attire look like, and he redesigned them with a more visually appealing aesthetic, and they instantly became cooler looking characters. Nothing changed about them, except for the fact that they weren't fat, ugly, or gay looking. They literally looked exactly the same otherwise. Same outfits, same colors, they just weren't fat, ugly, gay looking pieces of shit. And while there are many, many other problems in the gaming space, we can talk about fucking microtransactions and fucking loot boxes and all that shit. For me today, the major one is the political bullshit. And it is 100% coming from both sides. The extreme left with their insistent need to push agendas and lecture and check boxes. And then the extreme right with them just refusing to play anything if there's a female protagonist. Refusing to spend any money on something that may have a gay character in it somewhere, even if it's only in a 6-second cutscene. Both of them are destroying gaming. Both of them need to shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear any of you bitch. I'm tired of it. This side with their constant lecturing, that side with their constantly complaining about everything. Shut the fuck up. If we want to save gaming, and if we want to make gaming great again, we need to ditch the fucking politics. The first and foremost concern of developers needs to be compelling characters, great narratives, and fantastic gameplay. Not activism. You want to be an activist? Quit your job and go fucking protest somewhere. You want to make video games? That's what you worry about. Compelling characters, great narratives, and fantastic gameplay. You do that, you piss off nobody, and you make money. It's not that fucking hard. It really isn't. How many more games need to flop? How many more millions and millions of dollars need to be lost? How many more studio closures need to happen before they fucking wake up and cut the bullshit? To quote Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Except modify that and say, if you build it and check your politics at the fucking door, they will come. Nintendo proves it time and time again, and Chinese and Japanese developers prove it time and time again. And no, I'm not saying that every Chinese or Japanese developed game is instantly a financial success, because I know instantly in the comments going to be some smartass like, well, actually, this Japanese developed game lost money. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying those developers, when they make their games, don't start by alienating half their possible audience. If the game fails, the game fails. But it didn't fail because they told half the target audience, fuck you, we don't give a shit about you, we're making this game we know is going to piss you off, don't like it, don't buy it. That's all I'm saying. And listen, I'm going to end this fucking video here. I honestly have no idea how long this video is. All I know is that I've been yelling for a fucking while now, and I can feel heat just radiating from my fucking skull. It's just radiating from my skull. But yeah, I mean, politics and the current political climate, absolutely, in my opinion, the biggest problem in gaming. And that's all I got for you guys on this one. And that's the video, guys. What do you think? Do you agree with me? If not, let me know what you think is the greatest issue when gaming today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Supernova.